The alien woman demanded a human as her prize. No one knew why. Liam Carter stood at the edge of the crowded platform, his hands stuffed deep into his jacket pockets, trying to ignore the noise around him. Epsilon Prime spaceport was always busy, with ships arriving and leaving in a blur of lights and exhaust. Humans, aliens of all shapes and sizes, merchants calling out in dozens of languages, and travelers rushing to catch their ships filled the place with life. Liam worked as a small engineer in the maintenance docks, and he usually enjoyed watching the ships and people. But today, something felt different in the air, a tension that made his stomach twist. People were gathering around the main diplomatic platform at the center of the port. Liam was curious, but he tried to stay back. There had been announcements before, but most of them were boring or routine. Today, however, there was a strange energy that pulled him closer. A hush fell over the crowd as a shadow passed over the platform. Liam tilted his head upward. A ship larger than any he had ever seen descended slowly, hovering silently above the platform. Its surface shimmered with a color he could not name, a shifting violet and gold that almost hurt the eyes. The crowd gasped, some pointing and muttering. Then she appeared. The alien woman stepped out of the ship and the platform seemed to shrink around her. She was tall, taller than most humans, with skin that gleamed in shades of purple under the port lights. Her eyes were golden and sharp, scanning the crowd as if she could see through every person at once. She wore a suit that flowed around her like liquid metal, and when she moved, it was like watching water ripple in slow motion. Liam felt his heart beat faster. The air seemed to shift, as if she brought a piece of her world with her. "I am Selara," she said in a voice that carried across the platform without effort. Every ear seemed to hear her clearly, whether human or alien. There was a cold power in her tone, but also something calm, almost measured. "I have come to claim a human as my prize." Her golden eyes fixed on the crowd, and for a moment no one moved. Then a murmur ran through the crowd. Humans and aliens alike froze, unsure what to do. The words seemed impossible. Claim a human as her prize. What did it mean? Some people stepped back, while others whispered to each other. Security forces, both human and alien, tried to approach her, but she raised a hand. The gesture alone made everyone stop. She was not just demanding attention, she was controlling it, bending the space around her with her presence. Liam felt a chill run down his spine. He was not afraid exactly, but he felt small, like a child standing in front of something too big to understand. "I have chosen the one I seek," she continued. Her voice did not rise, but everyone listened. "Bring me the human named Liam Carter." The name cut through the crowd like a knife. Liam froze. His eyes widened and he stumbled backward, bumping into a merchant carrying a tray of food. "Me?" he said, almost as if he could not believe it. "Why me?" The crowd erupted in shocked whispers. People stared at him, some pointing, some shaking their heads in disbelief. Liam tried to speak, tried to explain, but the words would not come. A tall alien guard stepped forward and extended a hand toward him. It was not a threat, but there was no room to refuse. Liam felt a pull, like the weight of a river dragging him forward. A woman stepped beside him. Her name was Clara James, a human translator assigned to diplomatic missions. She had sharp brown eyes and a calm expression. She placed a hand on Liam's shoulder. "It's okay," she said softly. "We'll make sure nothing happens to you. I'll explain as we go, just follow me." Liam nodded weakly, still in shock, as he was led toward Selara's ship. People in the crowd were still whispering. Some speculated wildly. Was this a punishment, a ritual, a gift? No one knew. The officials tried to respond, but Selara's presence was overwhelming. Even the high-ranking ambassadors looked uneasy. Inside the ship, Liam realized how different things were. The walls were smooth, reflective, and shifted color as he moved. Light pulsed gently, not from any visible source. The air smelled faintly of ozone and something floral, a scent he could not name. Clara walked beside him, speaking quietly so only he could hear. Selara is a leader in her world, she explained. She is respected and feared. What she does is law, but the thing is, she usually does not choose humans. That is why this is unusual. Liam swallowed hard. He had never imagined that anything about him could be important to an alien civilization. He was just an engineer, someone who fixed machines, someone ordinary. And yet here he was, claimed as a prize by a being whose entire presence seemed like a storm. Selara appeared ahead of him, waiting. She did not speak at first. She studied him with those golden eyes, and Liam felt as if she could see through every thought, every memory. He tried to hold his gaze, but it was impossible. She was too strong, too focused. Finally, she spoke. "I have watched your world for decades," she said. "You do not know me, and yet you have caught my attention. That is why I have chosen you." "Watched my world?" Liam asked, his voice shaking. "Why me? I haven't done anything special." "Specialty is not measured by actions alone," she said simply. "It is measured by potential, by choices that are yet to be made. You have qualities that interest me, qualities that I have never seen in another human." Liam felt dizzy. He had never considered himself remarkable. He fixed machines, helped his neighbors when he could, and occasionally got lucky at small projects. How could that matter to someone so powerful? Clara squeezed his arm gently. "Just stay calm," she whispered. "We'll figure out what she wants, but right now she just wants to observe you. That is all." The ship moved silently, faster than anything Liam had seen, though there was no sound of engines. Outside the windows, stars stretched into lines as they jumped through space. Liam could not keep his eyes off them. The vastness of the galaxy pressed against his mind. For the first time he realized just how small humans were in comparison, and yet somehow he felt important. Hours passed, though Liam could not tell how. He walked through corridors that seemed alive, walls shifting gently as he passed. Other aliens moved around, some watching him curiously, some ignoring him completely. None spoke to him. He noticed that even their technology seemed almost organic, responding to movements and thoughts in ways that defied explanation. Finally, they arrived at a chamber larger than any room he had ever seen. Selara was waiting, seated on a structure that seemed to float just above the floor. She gestured for him to approach. Liam hesitated, then stepped forward. The floor beneath him hummed softly, almost like it was alive. He felt a strange warmth, not from heat, but from energy that seemed to flow through the room. "I do not mean to frighten you," Selara said, her voice calm but powerful. "Humans are interesting to me. I need to learn more about you before I make any final decisions. But you are not here to be harmed. You are here because you are capable. You are capable of understanding, of thinking, and of making choices that can change things." Liam swallowed. "Why me?" he asked again, even though he knew he would get the same answer. "Because you are not like the others I have observed," she said. "You are not blinded by fear or greed. You are curious, you think beyond your own comfort, and you act when it matters. That is rare, even among humans. That is why you are here." He could hardly believe it. All his life he had thought of himself as ordinary, unnoticed, average. Yet now, in the presence of a being who commanded worlds, he was chosen for something he did not understand. A small spark of pride flickered inside him, mingled with fear. Clara stepped forward. "You'll learn more soon," she said gently. "For now, just observe and try to stay calm. Nothing can happen without her consent. And trust me, she is not cruel, you'll see." Liam nodded again, trying to steady his racing heart. He looked around the room, at the walls that seemed to breathe, at the lights that shifted like water, at Selara, whose eyes were golden and unreadable. The universe felt larger than he had ever imagined, and yet, for the first time, he felt that he had a place in it. He realized, with a strange mixture of fear and excitement, that nothing would ever be the same again. And somewhere deep in his mind, he knew that the reason Selara had chosen him would change everything. Not just for him, but for the human race. Liam sat on the smooth floor of Selara's chamber, trying to calm his mind. The room was enormous, yet it felt quiet, almost alive. The walls shimmered in soft colors, and the air had a faint, pleasant smell he could not name. Outside the large window, stars stretched endlessly, distant suns blinking in the blackness. Liam could not stop staring. He had never seen anything so beautiful, so different. He tried to focus, but his thoughts kept returning to the question he could not stop asking. Why him? Clara James was sitting nearby, her legs crossed neatly. She had been assigned as his translator and guide, and she was calm, steady, and reassuring. She looked at him and smiled gently. "I know this is overwhelming," she said. "It would be for anyone, but you are safe. Selara does not harm those she chooses, not in this way. What she wants is to understand you, and in her way she believes humans are valuable." Liam nodded slowly. He wanted to ask more questions, but words felt heavy in his throat. "But why me?" he asked again, even though he had asked a dozen times before. Clara shrugged slightly. "She watches humans carefully. She chooses those who show unusual thought, bravery, and kindness. From what she told me, you have done things she noticed, small things, nothing heroic but meaningful. She seems to think that makes you different." Liam shook his head. He could not believe it. He had fixed machines, helped neighbors, and sometimes spoken up when he saw injustice, but nothing remarkable, nothing that should make him special. Yet here he was, the focus of one of the most powerful beings he had ever seen. Before he could ask another question, the chamber doors opened silently. Selara entered, her golden eyes fixed on him. She moved with grace, each step precise and controlled. She stopped a few feet away and tilted her head slightly. "You are curious about why you were chosen," she said, her voice soft, yet filled with authority. "That is natural. I will explain in time, but first you must see the world from my perspective. You must understand how we see life and why humans have value to us." Liam swallowed nervously. I want to understand," he said. Selara gestured to the center of the room. A smooth platform rose from the floor, glowing faintly. "Step onto the platform," she instructed. "Do not fear. It will show you what I see. The vision is not dangerous. It is a way for you to understand." He hesitated, then stepped forward. The platform felt warm under his feet, almost like it was alive. Lights pulsed gently, and a strange sensation washed over him. Suddenly, he was no longer in the chamber. The stars in the ship faded, replaced by images of Selara's world. Liam gasped. The landscape before him was breathtaking. Mountains glowed with blue and violet light, rivers flowed with liquid that shone like glass, and the sky was filled with three suns. Strange creatures moved across the land, some walking on four legs, others floating effortlessly in the air. Everything seemed connected, alive, as if the land itself breathed. "This is my home," Selara said. Her voice was in his mind now, gentle but clear. "Our civilization has grown for thousands of years. We value knowledge, thought, and action. We have survived by observing, learning, and choosing carefully. That is why I pay attention to other species. Humans are young, but your species has something rare, choice guided by morality, creativity, and courage." Liam felt dizzy. He could hardly comprehend what he was seeing. The creatures, the colors, the energy, it was overwhelming. Yet he also felt awe. He had always thought humans were limited, small, ordinary. Seeing this world made him realize how much he did not know. And somehow he understood that Selara's interest in humans was not random. It was purposeful, calculated, and deep. "How do I fit in?" Liam asked quietly. "I'm just a human, I'm not like this." "You are not expected to be like us," Selara replied. "You are valuable because you are human. Your thoughts, your decisions, your actions, they are unique. We observe potential, not perfection. That is why you were chosen. You have the ability to act, to solve, to create. In time, you will understand more, but first, you must open your mind to what you do not know." Liam tried to imagine himself in that context. He had always fixed machines, figured out problems, and helped people when he could. Could that be considered remarkable by an alien species? It felt strange, yet the vision of her world was convincing. He began to feel a small flicker of pride, though fear still remained. The platform pulsed again and the vision shifted. Now he saw scenes from his own world, but through Selara's eyes. He saw humans struggling, working, making mistakes, helping each other. But he also saw small acts that went unnoticed. A human helping a stranger, a child giving food to another, someone risking themselves to save a life. It was subtle, quiet, yet meaningful. Your species is young, chaotic, and often blind to the consequences of your actions, Selara said. Yet among your kind I have seen choices that matter. That is why I observe humans carefully, and that is why I chose you. You have made choices that reflect potential, not just instinct. That is rare, even among humans. Liam swallowed hard. He had never thought of himself as special in any way, and yet in her eyes he was meaningful. The thought made his chest tighten. He wanted to understand more, to prove that he was worthy of her attention. The vision faded, and he was back in the chamber. The platform descended silently, and the lights returned to normal. He looked at Selara, who stood calmly, watching him. "You have seen what I see," she said. "You understand in part why you are here, but understanding is not enough. You must learn to act, to think, and to solve. Only then will your place be certain. Are you willing to do that?" Liam hesitated. His mind raced. The idea of learning, of being tested, of proving himself, it was frightening. But another feeling rose stronger, curiosity. He wanted to know more, to see more, to understand. "Yes," he said finally, "I will try." Selara nodded slightly. "Good, then you will begin tomorrow. Today, rest and observe. Learn from what you see. Do not be afraid to ask questions, but remember, not all answers come immediately. Patience is as valuable as action." Clara guided him to a smaller room nearby, a living space with soft lights and furniture that seemed both simple and elegant. "You'll sleep here," she explained. "You will be fed, cared for, and kept safe. But tomorrow, things will change. You will begin learning, and Selara will watch closely. You must be ready to show her what you can do." Liam lay down on the soft bed, staring at the ceiling. His mind was a whirlwind. He had never imagined anything like this could happen. A normal human, claimed by an alien leader, observing a world beyond his comprehension. He could hardly breathe with the mix of fear and excitement. Hours passed, though time felt strange. The soft lights of the room shifted subtly, almost like they were alive, and Liam felt as if the room itself was watching him. Sleep came slowly, filled with dreams of stars, alien landscapes, and golden eyes. In his dreams, he saw himself acting bravely, solving problems, and making choices that mattered. When he woke, he felt a strange confidence, as if a small spark had been lit inside him. Clara was already waiting when he woke. "Morning," she said with a small smile. "Ready to start?" Liam nodded. "I think so," he said, though his stomach twisted nervously. "Good," Clara said. "Follow me. Today you will meet others from her species. You will learn, observe, and begin to understand why Selara chose you. Remember, she is not cruel. She expects intelligence, creativity, and courage. That is all." Liam followed her through corridors that shimmered and changed as he moved. Other aliens passed them, some curious, some indifferent. Every detail seemed to demand attention. The walls, the light, the air, the subtle energy that hummed beneath the floor. He realized that even moving through this ship was a lesson. Everything mattered, and he had to pay attention. Finally, they arrived at a large room filled with aliens of different shapes and sizes. Some had scales, some had fur, some had wings, and others seemed almost liquid. They stopped talking when Liam entered. All eyes turned toward him. Liam felt a wave of nervousness, but Clara whispered, "They are curious. Observe and be yourself. That is what matters." Selara entered and the room fell silent. She walked to the center and all eyes followed. "Today," she said, "you will meet those who serve and guide me. You will observe, ask questions, and learn. Liam Carter is with us to understand and to show potential. Treat him as you would a guest, but know that he is not ordinary. He carries the potential of a human mind." Liam felt a surge of pride mixed with fear. The words were strange, but they meant something. For the first time, he understood that his life, ordinary though it seemed, had led him to this moment. And he realized that, somehow, he had a chance to prove himself in a way no human ever had. The aliens watched him carefully, their expressions unreadable. Liam took a deep breath. This was the first day of a journey he could not yet understand, a journey that would test him in ways he had never imagined. And somewhere deep in his mind, he felt the spark of curiosity and courage that Selara had seen, the spark that had led her to choose him above all others. The next morning, Liam woke early. The room felt calm, the soft light shifting slowly as if it were alive. He stretched and looked around, still amazed at the strange, elegant simplicity of everything. The bed was soft and warm, the walls shimmered gently, and the air smelled faintly of something floral and clean. He could still feel the pulse of the ship beneath him, a quiet energy that seemed to hum through the floor. He realized that even being in this place required attention, curiosity, and care. Clara James was already waiting for him. She smiled softly. "Good morning," she said. "Ready to begin today? Selara expects you to learn quickly. This will be your first real day in her world." Liam nodded. He tried to steady his nerves, but the mixture of excitement and fear twisted in his stomach. He had never imagined being here, standing among beings so powerful and intelligent. "I think so," he said, his voice quiet. Clara led him through the corridors of the ship, the walls shifting and glowing softly as they moved. Other aliens passed them, stopping for a moment to look at Liam with curiosity, but none spoke. The corridor opened into a large room, filled with aliens of all shapes and sizes. Some had fur, some scales, some seemed almost liquid, moving fluidly as they walked. Liam paused, staring at the diversity around him. Every detail seemed alive, every movement purposeful. Selara was already in the center, standing tall as always. Her golden eyes scanned the room and then fixed on Liam. "Today," she said, "you will meet those who guide me and serve in my civilization. Observe carefully. Learn quickly. You are not here as a visitor. You are here to understand, to think, and to show potential." Liam swallowed nervously. The eyes of dozens of aliens rested on him. He felt a strange mix of fear and pride. This was his chance, and he understood that everything he did today would matter. One of the aliens stepped forward. It had smooth blue scales and eyes that glowed faintly. "I am Rilan," it said in a calm voice. "I guide the study of new species. Today, you will observe our methods and learn how we assess potential." Liam nodded. I will try my best," he said. Rilan motioned to a series of screens and displays that lined one wall of the room. The displays showed images of different planets, creatures, and technologies. Liam realized they were observing life across multiple worlds, studying patterns, behavior, and actions. It was incredible, and he could feel the weight of knowledge pressing against him. "Your species is young," Rilan said. "You are chaotic, unpredictable, and limited in many ways. Yet among your kind, we have seen rare acts of intelligence, morality, and courage. That is why Selara chose you." Liam felt a shiver run down his spine. It was strange to hear such praise from beings so powerful and advanced. He had never considered himself exceptional. All his life, he had fixed machines, helped people when he could, and lived quietly. And yet here he was, recognized for qualities he had never valued in himself. "Today," Selara said, her voice steady and commanding, "you will begin your first lessons. You will observe, you will ask questions, and you will demonstrate your ability to think. You must show creativity, morality, and intelligence. Your success is not about power or strength. It is about mind and choice. The first exercise was simple but challenging. Liam was shown a simulation of a small colony on a distant planet. The colony faced a resource shortage, and the inhabitants were struggling to survive. Liam had to analyze the situation and propose a solution. He studied the images, noting the needs of the colony, the available resources, and the behavior of the inhabitants. Hours passed as he worked, and Solara watched silently. He could feel her gaze, not threatening but intense, assessing every decision he made. Liam realized that his choices mattered more than he had ever imagined. Every suggestion, every plan could prove his worth or fail. Finally, he proposed a solution that redistributed resources efficiently, created a system for sustainable growth, and included a way for the inhabitants to help each other more effectively. He presented his plan calmly, explaining each step clearly and logically. Solara's golden eyes narrowed slightly, then softened. "You see beyond the obvious," she said. "You understand balance and you consider consequences. This is rare, even among humans. It is why you were chosen." Liam felt a mixture of relief and pride. He had never thought of himself as capable of impressing anyone, let alone a being like Solara. Yet, in her eyes, he had value. That thought gave him courage. After the exercise, he was led to a different chamber, where other humans and aliens observed him interacting with machines and technology. Liam realized that the alien civilization valued practical intelligence as much as moral judgment. They did not just study ideas, they applied them. Every action, every solution was a test of potential. Solara observed quietly from the center of the room. Her golden eyes never left him. Liam felt the weight of her attention, but he also felt trust. He realized that she did not expect perfection. She expected thought, effort, and morality. That understanding gave him confidence. Hours turned into what felt like days. Liam worked on simulations, observed alien interactions, and tried to understand their ways of thinking. The aliens he met were not hostile or threatening. Many were curious, some helpful, some indifferent. All seemed to respect effort and intelligence. He began to understand the rhythm of their society: observation, thought, decision, action. Everything had purpose. At one point, he noticed a small alien with smooth, golden skin struggling to operate a device. It was delicate and complex, and the alien's frustration was clear. Without thinking, Liam stepped forward and showed a small adjustment that solved the problem. The alien looked at him with surprise, then nodded gratefully. Solara's eyes flickered with interest. "You act not for reward, but because it is needed," Solara said quietly, almost to herself. "That is what I see in humans, and that is why this one is valuable." Liam felt a strange warmth. He had never thought that helping someone, even an alien, could be meaningful in this way. He realized that small choices could carry weight far beyond what he imagined. As the day continued, he met more aliens, each with different abilities, perspectives, and responsibilities. He learned that their society valued logic, creativity, empathy, and courage in equal measure. Strength and technology were secondary. His understanding grew, and with it, his confidence. He began to see that Solara's choice was not arbitrary. She saw potential in humans, potential that Liam himself had never fully realized. In the afternoon, Solara led him to a vast chamber filled with floating objects. Some were machines, some seemed alive, and others were tools for thought and observation. "This is your next test," she said. "Use your mind to interact with these objects. Solve problems, create solutions, and show your understanding. Do not rely on force. Think, observe, and choose." Liam approached cautiously. He examined each object carefully, noting patterns and interactions. Slowly, he began to experiment, moving pieces, combining elements, testing results. Hours passed and he worked tirelessly, driven by curiosity and determination. Finally, he created a system that balanced energy flow, motion, and function. It was elegant, simple, and effective. The floating objects responded perfectly, moving in harmony. Solara watched silently, then nodded once. "You have shown creativity and understanding," she said. "You think beyond immediate results. You consider balance, consequence, and potential. That is rare. That is why you were chosen." Liam felt a thrill of pride. He had never imagined that his ordinary mind could accomplish something so extraordinary. He realized that being human did not mean being limited. His choices, his thoughts, and his actions had value in a way he had never understood. By the end of the day, Liam was exhausted but exhilarated. He had learned more in a single day than he had in his entire life. He had seen the depth of alien intelligence, experienced their ways of thinking, and begun to understand why Solara had chosen him. Clara led him back to his room, smiling gently. "You did well," she said. "Solara is impressed. You are beginning to understand what she sees in humans. Remember, this is just the start. There is much more to learn." Liam lay down on the soft bed, thinking about the day. He realized that everything he had done, every small choice in his life, had led him to this moment. He understood now that his potential was real, and that Solara had seen it before he even understood it himself. As he closed his eyes, he felt a mixture of pride, excitement, and determination. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new lessons, and new opportunities to prove himself. For the first time, he felt that being human was not a limitation, it was a gift. And he knew that he would meet whatever came next with courage, intelligence, and choice. The stars outside shimmered faintly, and Liam imagined the vast universe stretching endlessly. Somewhere in that universe he had a purpose now, a purpose that would test him, shape him, and reveal the true value of humanity in ways he could never have imagined. The next day, Liam woke early again. The soft light of the ship filtered through the walls, bathing the room in gentle colors. He felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. Yesterday had been incredible, filled with lessons and experiences he could hardly have imagined. Today, he knew, would be even more challenging. Clara James was waiting for him, as always calm and steady. "Good morning," she said. "Solara has a special task for you today. You will see why she chose you in a way that matters." Liam's stomach tightened. "A task?" he asked, his voice quiet. "Yes," Clara said. "It will test your mind, your judgment, and your choices. It is not dangerous if you think carefully, but it will be demanding." He nodded. He had begun to understand that every challenge in this place was meant to test him, not harm him. But that did not make it less intimidating. They walked through the corridors of the ship. Liam had begun to notice small details he had missed before. The walls that seemed alive, shifting as if breathing, the subtle hum under the floor, and the faint glow that pulsed in rhythm with some unknown heartbeat. Other aliens passed by, observing him with quiet curiosity. Some nodded slightly, as if acknowledging his presence, while others studied him with more intensity. Finally, they entered a vast chamber unlike any Liam had seen. The room was enormous, with platforms suspended in the air and strange devices floating without support. Lights shimmered along the walls, and the air had a soft vibration that seemed to echo thoughts. Solara was standing in the center, her golden eyes fixed on him. "Today," she said, "you will face a challenge. An alien faction doubts my choice of a human. They believe that your species cannot act wisely or fairly in a complex situation. They will test you, and your actions will determine not only your future, but also the perception of humans in our civilization." Liam felt his chest tighten. He had never faced such pressure before. The thought that an entire civilization could doubt humans because of him was overwhelming. But beneath the fear, a spark of determination burned. He would not fail. Solara gestured to one of the floating platforms. A holographic display appeared, showing a small alien colony on a distant planet. The colony was in chaos. Resources were scarce, Tensions ran high, and a faction of the inhabitants was on the verge of rebellion. Liam could see the fear and frustration in their movements, the anger in their faces, and the desperation in their actions. "You must help them," Selara said. "You cannot use force. You cannot demand obedience. You must find a solution that balances resources, maintains peace, and earns trust. Use your mind, your judgment, and your understanding of morality. Your choices will be observed carefully." Liam took a deep breath. The task seemed impossible. He had faced simulations before, but this was different. These were living beings, with emotions, needs, and thoughts he could not fully understand. He had to think not only about efficiency, but about fairness and consequence. He studied the colony carefully. Some inhabitants were hoarding resources, others were starving. Conflict had already broken out, and the leaders of the colony were struggling to maintain control. Liam thought back to what Selara had shown him about humans: small acts of kindness, careful thinking, and moral choices. Perhaps he could apply the same ideas here. He began to work. First, he created a system to distribute resources more fairly, using available technology in the colony. He made sure that those in need received help first, but also ensured that no one could take more than they should. Then, he proposed a council of leaders chosen from different groups, giving them a voice in decisions and a sense of responsibility. Finally, he designed a way for inhabitants to help each other, creating small rewards for cooperation rather than punishment for failure. Hours passed as he worked, and Selara observed silently. Liam could feel her gaze, assessing every move. The tension in the room grew as the alien faction watched from their stations. They had doubted humans, but now they were forced to consider whether this human could indeed act wisely. Finally, Liam implemented his plan in the simulation. The colony's chaos began to ease. Conflicts diminished, resources were better managed, and the inhabitants started to cooperate. Liam watched carefully, ready to adjust if something went wrong. Slowly, the rebellion lost momentum, and order returned without violence. Selara's golden eyes softened slightly. "You have shown understanding beyond instinct," she said. "You see balance, morality, and consequence. That is rare among your species, and it is why you were chosen." Liam felt a wave of relief and pride. He had succeeded, at least in this simulation. But the lesson was deeper than that. He realized that his actions, even small ones, could have a lasting impact. The choices he made mattered, and they could shape the world in ways he had never imagined. Clara stepped forward. "You did well," she said softly. Selara is impressed. The alien faction is silent, which means they are reconsidering their doubts. You are beginning to prove that humans can act wisely, creatively, and morally. Liam nodded, feeling both exhaustion and exhilaration. He had never thought of himself as capable of this, yet here he was, demonstrating qualities that mattered in a galaxy far beyond his home. The day continued with more challenges. Liam was asked to solve problems involving logistics, communication, and ethics. Each task tested him in a new way, pushing him to think creatively and carefully. He learned to observe, to listen, and to act with both intelligence and compassion. At one point, he noticed a conflict between two alien species. One group had accidentally damaged the other's equipment, and tempers were flaring. Liam approached carefully, speaking calmly and clearly. He proposed a solution that repaired the equipment, restored trust, and allowed both groups to share resources fairly. The aliens looked at him in surprise, and Selara's gaze lingered on him with interest. "You act with fairness and foresight," Selara said. "You do not act for reward, only for balance and understanding. That is what I value in humans. That is why you are here." Liam felt a strange warmth in his chest. He had never imagined that his ordinary mind could make a difference in such a place. Every choice, every solution, had weight and meaning. He realized that being human was not a limitation, it was a unique strength. By the end of the day, Liam was exhausted but proud. He had faced challenges that tested his mind, his judgment, and his morality. He had succeeded in ways he had never imagined, and he had begun to earn the respect of Selara and her civilization. Clara guided him back to his room. "You did well today," she said softly. "Selara is impressed, and the alien faction has reconsidered their doubts. You are beginning to show what humans can do." Liam lay down on the soft bed, thinking about the day. He realized that every small choice he had made in his life, helping neighbors, fixing machines, acting kindly, had prepared him for this moment. He understood now that potential was not about power or strength, but about thought, action, and morality. As he closed his eyes, he felt a spark of determination. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but he knew he was ready. He had begun to understand why Selara had chosen him. He was not just a human among aliens. He was a representative of his species, a bridge between worlds, and a mind capable of change and understanding. The stars outside shimmered faintly, and Liam imagined the vast universe stretching endlessly. He knew that the choices he made here would not only affect him, but could shape the perception of humans across the galaxy. And for the first time, he felt truly capable, ready to meet whatever challenges came next with intelligence, courage, and morality. The next morning, Liam woke to a quiet hum through the ship, a gentle vibration that seemed to greet him. He stretched, feeling tired from yesterday but alive with purpose. The lessons, the challenges, and the tests had changed him. He no longer felt like the ordinary engineer he had been on Epsilon Prime. He felt capable, alert, and ready to face whatever Selara had planned next. Clara James was waiting at the door with her calm, reassuring smile. "Good morning," she said. "Selara wants you in the main chamber. Today is important. You will see why she chose you and what your actions can accomplish." Liam swallowed nervously, his heart pounding. "Important?" he asked. "Yes," Clara said softly. "This is the moment where your choices will matter not only to you but to humans across the galaxy. Be yourself. Think carefully. Trust what you have learned." He nodded and followed her through the corridors of the ship. He had grown familiar with them now, noticing small details he had overlooked before. The walls that seemed alive, shifting gently as he moved, the soft glow that followed him like a quiet guide, and the faint hum of energy beneath the floor. He realized that the ship itself was not just a vessel, it was a teacher, guiding him to understand more than he ever had before. When they reached the main chamber, Liam's eyes widened. The space was enormous, larger than any room he had ever seen. Platforms floated in midair, and alien observers lined the edges of the room. They were of all shapes and sizes, some tall and thin, others round and short, some with wings or scales, others with skin that shimmered like liquid. Every eye was on him, waiting. Selara stood at the center, her golden eyes fixed on Liam. She looked calm, powerful, and unyielding. "Today," she said, her voice carrying across the chamber, "you will face the final test. An emergency has arisen on a distant colony. Your species will be observed. Your actions will determine how humans are seen in our civilization. You will act as a representative of humanity." Liam felt his chest tighten. The pressure was immense. He had already learned so much, yet this moment felt larger than anything he had imagined. The fate of how aliens saw humans rested on him. Yet beneath the fear, a spark of determination rose. He would not fail. A holographic display appeared in the center of the room, showing a small alien settlement under threat. A severe storm was approaching, and the colony's protective systems were failing. The inhabitants were panicked and resources were running low. Liam saw confusion, fear, and desperation in their movements. The situation was chaotic. "You cannot rely on force," Selara instructed. "You cannot simply command. You must use thought, planning, and cooperation. Show them how humans think, how humans act. Show them what makes your species capable of wisdom and morality." Liam nodded. He studied the scene carefully, analyzing the resources, the behavior of the inhabitants, and the risks posed by the storm. He realized that this was different from the simulations he had done before. The stakes were higher, the consequences real, and the observers countless. He began to act. First, he identified critical systems that needed repair to protect the colony. He then organized the inhabitants, guiding them to secure shelters and redistribute resources efficiently. He communicated clearly and calmly, showing them how to work together rather than panic. Small gestures of encouragement, clear instructions, and fair distribution of tasks began to calm the chaos. Hours passed as he worked, constantly adjusting and problem-solving. The storm grew closer and the colony's systems continued to fail in places, but Liam stayed focused. He applied everything he had learned: observation, logic, morality, and creativity. Every choice mattered, every action counted. At one point, a group of inhabitants had hoarded supplies and refused to share. Liam approached them calmly, explaining the risk of selfishness and showing how cooperation would save lives. Slowly, they agreed to help, and their actions inspired others. The colony began to function like a single organism, moving with purpose, trust, and efficiency. Selara's golden eyes followed every move. Liam could feel her judgment, but it was not harsh. It was precise, assessing, and attentive. He realized that she was not testing him for punishment, she was measuring potential, and with each decision he made, he felt a quiet confidence grow inside him. Finally, the storm hit. Strong winds and rain lashed at the colony, but thanks to Liam's guidance, the protective systems held. The inhabitants were safe and the chaos subsided. Liam exhaled, exhausted but exhilarated. He had done it. He had faced the emergency, thought through every detail, and acted with intelligence, fairness, and courage. The observers in the chamber fell silent, then murmurs spread. The alien faction that had doubted him before exchanged glances, some nodding slowly. They had expected failure, but they had witnessed something remarkable. A human had solved a problem that had threatened an entire settlement without force, without fear, using only thought, morality, and leadership. Selara stepped forward, her eyes softening with a rare warmth. "You have shown what humans are capable of," she said. "You have demonstrated intelligence, morality, creativity, and courage. Your actions have saved lives and earned the trust of those who doubted you. That is why you were chosen." Liam felt a wave of relief and pride. For the first time, he truly understood that being human was not a limitation. His choices, his ability to think and act wisely, had value in ways he had never imagined. He realized that humans, though young and imperfect, could rise to meet challenges in ways that mattered across the galaxy. Clara stepped forward and placed a hand on his shoulder. "You did it," she said softly. "Selara and her people now see humans in a new light. Your actions have changed their perception. You have proven that humans can act wisely, morally, and creatively." Liam nodded, overwhelmed by the weight of what had happened. He had started as an ordinary engineer, unsure of his place in the galaxy, and now he had proven that his species could stand proudly among the stars. Selara's voice drew him back to the present. "You have completed your test," she said. "Not because I demanded it, but because you chose to act with wisdom and morality. That is the true measure of a being's value. Humans have potential I have not seen elsewhere. Liam Carter, you are proof of that potential." Liam felt a warmth spread through him. He had never imagined being recognized in this way. He had never imagined that his ordinary choices, helping neighbors, fixing machines, acting kindly, could lead to something so extraordinary. "Your species has value," Selara continued. "Not because of weapons, technology, or strength, but because of thought, choice, and morality. You have shown what it means to be human in the galaxy." The room was silent, except for the soft hum of the ship and the quiet whispers of the observers. Liam felt both humility and pride. He had faced the greatest challenge of his life and succeeded. But more importantly, he had learned something profound. Humanity's strength lay in mind, heart, and choices, not just in force or power. Selara stepped closer, her golden eyes meeting his. "You have earned respect," she said simply, "not just for yourself but for all humans. Your actions today have changed the way my civilization will see your species forever. That is no small achievement." Liam could hardly speak. His chest tightened and his mind raced. I don't know what to say," he whispered. "Say nothing," Selara replied, her voice calm and warm. "Let your actions speak. They have spoken loudly enough." Clara smiled gently, guiding him toward a quiet corner of the chamber. "You should rest," she said. "Your work today has been extraordinary. Tomorrow will bring new experiences, but nothing will ever diminish what you have accomplished." Liam sat quietly, absorbing everything. He thought about his life on Epsilon Prime, the ordinary days of fixing machines, helping people, and living simply. And he realized that all those small acts had prepared him for this moment. They had shaped his mind, his judgment, and his morality. And now he had proved that humans, though ordinary in appearance, could achieve greatness. Hours passed, and Liam lay on the soft bed in his room, reflecting on the events of the day. He felt a quiet pride, a deep understanding of what it meant to be human. Humans were capable of thought, morality, courage, and creativity. They could rise to challenges, solve problems, and inspire trust and respect, even among the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. As he stared out at the stars beyond the ship, Liam felt a profound connection to the universe. For the first time, he realized that humanity was not small or insignificant. Each human, with their choices and actions, had the power to shape events far beyond their own world. Selara's words echoed in his mind. Humans have value, not because of strength or technology, but because of thought, choice, and morality. Liam understood now that he had not just proven himself, he had proven humanity. The soft hum of the ship seemed to lull him into a calm reflection. He thought of the aliens who had doubted him, the stormy colony, and the tasks he had completed. Each challenge had been a lesson, each choice a proof of capability. And he knew that his actions would have lasting effects, not only on Selara's civilization, but on how humans were seen across the stars. For the first time, Liam felt truly confident. He was no longer just an ordinary engineer. He was a human who had stood among aliens, solved impossible problems, and shown what his species could achieve. He had acted with intelligence, courage, and morality. He had proven that humans were capable of greatness. As the stars outside shimmered in the quiet night, Liam closed his eyes. He felt a deep sense of purpose, a connection to humanity and the universe. He knew that his journey was not over, that challenges would continue to come. But he also knew that humans had the potential to meet those challenges, to rise, and to leave a mark on the galaxy. And somewhere deep in his mind, he felt Selara's presence, watching, approving, and acknowledging that humanity, through one ordinary human, had shown its true power. Liam Carter, the engineer from Epsilon Prime, had become more than himself. He had become a symbol of humanity's courage, intelligence, and potential. For the first time, he smiled without fear, knowing that nothing would ever make him doubt what humans could achieve.